There's been a lot of hemming and hawing about the Chiefs' offense this year. They scored just under 22 points per game this season, which was 15th in the NFL. And that doesn't sound too terrible, but it's also by far the lowest points per game that the Chiefs have scored in the Mahomes and Reid era. However, believe it or not, the data also does suggest that there is a way for the Chiefs to turn their offense around and, by extension, save their Super Bowl hopes. But making that change is a lot easier said than done. Or at least easier said than done for Andy Reid. Problem number one for the Chiefs this year is that other than one single rookie receiver on the roster that's doing most of the heavy lifting, explosiveness is pretty much absent from this passing game. And I don't just mean vertical explosiveness, I mean explosiveness after the catch too, which is supposed to be the bread and butter of this system. Forgive me for drowning you in numbers here, but you really need to hear these to grasp the full scale of the Chiefs' ineptitude this year. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL, is 43rd among all quarterbacks, meaning both starters and backups, in throwing past the sticks at only 34.3% of his throws. He is 41st in average depth of target at only 7.3 yards. He is 24th in big-time throw percentage at only 4.0% flat. And he also has the third lowest air yards percentage, meaning the percentage of his yards that come before the catch rather than after the catch, at just 40.4%, which is only ahead of PJ Walker and Trevor Siemian. And just as a side note, it's not entirely a bad thing to be a yak-based offense. I mean, if you look at all the offensive numbers from last year, the two yak-heaviest teams, so to speak, were the 49ers and Chiefs, which were both elite offenses in their own right. So theoretically, being a yak-heavy offense can work, but it only works if you're still getting a lot of explosive plays after the catch to substitute for the fact that you're not getting explosive plays down the field. And unfortunately for the Chiefs this year, they're not getting that many explosive plays after the catch, which, to be honest, means they're not really getting any explosive plays at all. Rashee Rice was brilliant after the catch as a rookie. Everybody knows that, of course, by now. And I took a huge L this year for underestimating him as a prospect, so that's on me, obviously. But he led the team in yards after the catch by a lot, and there was really no other receiver or running back who even came close to him. Even Travis Kelce, who normally has been a great yak threat, had arguably his least explosive season in years and finally started showing his age a bit. And I know that there's a common misconception that in the post-Tyreek Hill era, that the root of the problem is the Chiefs cannot stretch the field anymore to get chunk plays. And believe me, that is a problem in its own right. I don't want to get that twisted. They are completely incapable of attacking down the field because half their receivers can't catch. But even when Tyreek was still in KC, this was still a very quick game-oriented passing offense that was heavily yards after catch based. They were just a lot better at getting yak back then because they had Tyreek Hill. I mean, in 2021, Tyreek's last season in Kansas City, they were 24th in average depth of target at only 8.1, but because those passes were going to Hill and younger versions of Travis Kelce and Jerick McKinnon, I guess, they were a hell of a lot more effective overall, and the offense finished in the top 4 in points per game. The Chiefs' lack of passing success this season really all comes down to that. The quarterback is the same, and the yak-reliant scheme is mostly the same. There just happens to be enough of a drop-off in who's actually supposed to be getting all the yak over there that the whole operation has basically fallen apart. However, and this is a pretty big however, I do think that there is a fix available for this offense. It just happens to be something that Andy Reid really doesn't like to do: running the ball. At this point, there is zero excuses left for the Chiefs to not become a very run-heavy team. It's one of the only things that they're actually good at doing this season. Even though they have the 4th lowest run rate in the NFL at only 32.3% of their plays being runs, they are 8th in yards per carry at 4.4, and they have the 7th highest explosive run rate in the league as well at 13.9%. They're also a top 5 team in yards before contact per carry on inside zone at 2.0, meaning on average their running backs gain 2 yards before they're even touched on inside zone calls, which is their most common run call by far, by the way. On power runs, they're also 3rd in yards per carry at 5.5. I mean, they absolutely kick ass on power. When it comes to counter, they're slightly less effective at 4.4 yards per carry, but that's still 8th in the NFL. And then on pin and pull schemes like G Lead, for instance, they're 11th in yards per carry at 4.8. I mean, really, the only run concept that they're even below average at is outside zone, where they're 28th in yards per carry at only 3.3. But that's mainly because they insist on running outside zone from shotgun a lot of the time, where the angles are just horrible and it rarely ever works, and I hate they do it because it fucking sucks. And if you watched a bunch of episodes on this channel this season, you know how much I hate outside zone from shotgun, and the Chiefs do it more than pretty much everybody else. But every other run concept they have in the playbook, Kansas City is wildly effective at it. The only problem is that they just don't like to run the ball that much. Like I said, they do it at a bottom 5 rate in the league. They treat their quick passing game as an extension of their run game, like it's a run play with extra steps, so to speak. But at some point, the Chiefs need to realize that most of their receivers are not good enough in space right now to make that consistently work anymore, like they did when Tyreek Hill was in town. No longer can this team treat an Isaiah Pacheco run interchangeably with a flare out to Sky Moore or a slant to Justin Watson. And the sooner they realize that, the sooner they can realize their true destiny and become the team they were always meant to be, which is basically a carbon copy of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Look, if running the ball and playing defense can get Trent Dilfer a ring, it can get Patrick Mahomes a ring too, okay? I'm not saying it's a perfect plan, but at least it's a plan, especially in minus 17 degree wind chill. I mean, they got a sentient block of granite there in the backfield. That dude is fucking Hannibal Lecter in a number 10 jersey. If there was ever a time to say, Isaiah, we are pointing you in the direction of the enemy, please go kill them, now's the time to do it. Hell, I don't care if they only get 10 passing yards this weekend. As long as they run for 200, they're probably going to win. And the reason why I say 10 passing yards, by the way, is because the underdog pick'em special this weekend is Patrick Mahomes at half a passing yard, so we need him to complete at least one pass. But after that, if they just hand the ball off the rest of the day, we're probably okay. And if you've never played pick'ems before, by the way, it's a great way to add a little bit of fun to your playoff watching experience this weekend. You can get up to 100 times your money depending on how many scorchers you take, so even on a little $5 entry, nothing too crazy, of course, you could still get yourself a nice steak dinner out of it if you nail all 5 picks. On screen right now, I have my entry that I filled out for the Dolphins and Chiefs game, so you can tail that or completely fade it if you feel so inclined. And again, if you're brand new to Underdog, you can use my promo code Brett at the link in the description below. That will match your deposit on anything up to $100, so you can get basically $100 for free on the platform. And of course, you're also going to get access to that Patrick Mahomes half a passing yard special, which should make your pick'em entries that much easier to win on. Thank you again to Underdog for helping to make this show possible. Thank you to Holiday Distillery, which is a local distillery in Kansas City, for making excellent bourbon. Again, not sponsored, just a very big fan of their work, and I don't know where to get it in California, so if anybody from Holiday sees this, please let me know, because I am almost out, and I'm going to need another bottle fairly soon. Anyway, join our Discord server, linked in the description below. Follow me on all the socials, all that stuff, and yeah, I will see you guys next week.